So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce you to a man who is the driving force in the fight against tick-borne diseases, a man who has showed his passion and enthusiasm and to find a reliable diagnostic tool for tick-borne diseases. A Lyme sufferer himself, managing director at Blackstone private equity firm in New York City, and TBDA Co-chair. Welcome to the stage, David Roth.
All right, all right, all right. I make this reference to Matthew McConaughey and his performance in the Dallas Buyers Club because of the undeniable parallels between the early days of the AIDS crisis and where we are with Lyme and other tick-borne diseases. While less people are dying, although some do, thousands upon thousands are suffering in silence. This is the epidemic of our generation. And when the history has been written, I hope that you'll be proud to look back and say you were here tonight and that you were part of the beginning of the solution. At least that's my hope. Thanks all for joining us tonight at our third annual, thank you. Thank you all for joining us tonight at our third annual Gala. We've really got a great evening in store. I want to first thank our co-chairs, Stacy Groden, Lori Nadell, and our executive director, Jody Nass. For the incredible amount of work that they put into this night to make it happen. I also want to thank some of our friends from the other Lyme organizations around the country, like LRA, Bay Area Lyme, NatCap Lyme, the New York Lyme Support Group, and the Hudson Valley Lyme Disease Association, all of whom are here tonight, and just want to thank them for all the work they do. Second, I have a box that my wife was supposed to bring, and I'm looking at her now, she didn't bring it, filled with $550 that was going to be a donation from my children, Rowan and what was my other child's name? Rowan and Tyler. They, with help from their mother, they did a bake sale and lemonade sale and made $550, it's like only in New York, $550 on the street. Anyway, so, thank you. Thanks. So why am I and my family and all of our board members and the members of the other Lyme groups around the country spending so much time on tick-borne diseases? Really two reasons. One, we're scared. We're scared for our kids who go out in the grass and play every summer. And we're scared that we ourselves might get reinfected. And because we're angry. We're very mad at the way the medical establishment and the government have dealt with these diseases. For those who don't know, Lyme is a bacterial infection that is contracted through the bite of a tick. It's one of the fastest growing infectious diseases in the country. We've already heard about 300,000 this year being pronounced by the CDC. What they don't tell you is it's growing, and those in finance will understand this, at a compounded growth rate of 8% per year since 1992. It's going to grow big really quickly. But who cares? When you get Lyme, you get diagnosed, you take 3 weeks of antibiotics, and you're fine. At least that's what some people think. I and all the people being honored here tonight are here to tell you that for some portion of those infected, that's not how it works. For the unlucky ones, the antibiotics don't work. Research is showing that 15% of those who are diagnosed immediately upon being bit by a tick remain severely ill after a month of antibiotics. That percentage likely goes up if the infection is not diagnosed and is allowed to disseminate throughout the body. The reason for tonight's gala theme, the Great Imitator Masquerade Ball, and apologize if anybody did come dressed in costume, is because Lyme disease is a disguised disease. It is often misdiagnosed as its symptoms mimics so many other diseases, such as chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, arthritis, and other diseases. Patients don't know what symptoms to look for, and docs aren't properly educated. Patients are more and more turning up with multiple infections from other non-Lyme pathogens that ticks carry, making their clinical picture that much more complicated. Making matters worse, the current blood tests are woefully unreliable. You may be surprised to learn that today's Lyme test is antiquated. It's 25+ years old. Think how far technology has advanced since the days of the 14-inch cell phones with long antennas. Why hasn't the same advancement happened on the healthcare front to help solve one of the greatest healthcare problems of today? So hundreds of thousands get affected, and many go undetected and misdiagnosed, resulting in a much greater chance of having symptoms that become chronic. The NIH found that the impact of chronic symptoms from Lyme disease on people's health was at least equal to the disability of patients with congestive heart failure and osteoarthritis, and greater than those seen in type 2 diabetes. And I see and I hear about it every week. I talk to sufferers every week, and it makes me sad, and it makes me ill, and it makes me angry, because it doesn't have to be this way. So how do we combat this continued suffering? First, we can educate. Prevention is the simplest way to avoid these problems. Educating people about the myths of Lyme disease is critical as well. Like the myth that you can't catch Lyme and other tick-borne diseases unless the tick has been on you 24 hours. This is a myth. Or the myth that all those who are infected get a bullseye rash. Actually, less than 50% do. Or the myth that a negative on a Lyme blood test means you don't have Lyme. It's critical to catch the disease early when it's easier to treat. The wrong diagnosis can mean a lifetime of debilitating pain and illness, and wrong diagnoses are the calling card of these illnesses given the lack of a reliable diagnostic test. TBDA is fighting this battle on several fronts. We're advocates for awareness within the general public and medical community through the PSAs you'll see tonight, and events like our support of John Donnelly and his Bite Back for a Cure ride across the country, which you'll hear about later. Thank you. We are advocates for increased funding of research at the federal level. We held several hearings this year in New York and in Washington, D.C. in support of legislation introduced by Senators Blumenthal and Gillibrand. We're also supporting state legislation like the recently introduced New York State Patients' Rights Bill that protects doctors who prescribe more than 30 days of antibiotics. If you're from New York, please write to your New York State reps in support of this bill. But most important, we're supporting initiatives that help researchers develop accurate, reliable, and accessible diagnostic tests for Lyme and tick-borne diseases, the linchpin for eradicating the suffering from these diseases. Initiatives like the creation of a national Lyme biorepository, an effort that I'm going to describe later. The race for diagnostics is crucial in halting the spread of these diseases. Help us win the fight together and prevent future suffering. Thank you again for your kind support. We are truly grateful.